welcome on in for a fresh edition of the wide world of electronic sports. It's your boy Diddy, and of course the one and only Rodney Conyers Jr. How you doing, Rod?
I'm doing well, man. Damn, it feels like it's been longer than what it typically is. And I always say that, like even coming from one Monday to the next, because there's just so many days. And, Monday's such a weird day in the world of esports because really like things start to kick off either like that weekend before, like
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But here we are, man. Post Thanksgiving too, bro. Are you still eating leftovers? Because I know I am.
I just wrapped up my leftovers on Sunday, so
Okay.
you know they were still holding up pretty well, but I unfortunately had some tragic stuff happen over the
Mm.
weekend. The dog managed to get on the counter while I was in the other room and eat my leftover plate, my first leftover plate. All right,
Mm.
I had all kinds of emotions going through my body when I saw that the leftovers were indeed left over in my dog's stomach. So, very upsetting times. But
Damn, man. That's the type of stuff you hear about like in movies or like, damn, my dog ate my homework. Like, nah, he really got on the
no,
table and
he ate
ate
my
my food.
dressing, my sweet potatoes. He ate all that. I was upset. I was real upset. But it's okay. All right. It's not as upsetting as taking some esports losses. I guess some folks did. But yeah, we got plenty of topics to get into this week. Should be good times.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I'm excited, man. I feel like over these last so many weeks and months in esports, we've seen people kind of bust into more mogul plays. I think the biggest ones that we've seen so far was of course, everything that Ludwig does, kind of crossing that threshold
Mm.
between personality and business. Mogul moves, of course, Hungrybox joining Coinbase and, kind of bringing that sort of money into the Smash community. I want to say even when Legend of Arceus came out, before the Pokemon company could even do an official tournament, I believe I forget the creator's name, but he did a really big one too. But can you get any bigger? Can you get any bigger than not only being a top player, Denny, but also having part ownership of the company, the team you play for, bro? Faker is making some real plays, bro. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely big moves. I feel like I like seeing this kind of agency taking place where you know it kind of reminds me of some of the moves that you look for the regular sports world to a certain extent when you see players kind of move into that business side. Even some moving into like a GM kind of reign and that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
I think there's definitely elements of that I see here potentially. And I like to see that kind of established now with players who clearly have been consistent and showing why uh,
Yeah.
they deserve to kind of move into that realm. And I think it's a
Mhm.
smart investment overall too. I mean, when you have like a lot of times people I've been seeing more of the like shift towards investing in cryptocurrency or some of the other avenues out there, which
Sure.
obviously have become more volatile or unstable to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I think like having this opportunity to actually be part of locking in with the actual team
Mhm.
is not only smart but just helps his overall brand. So
Yeah.
it also shows that he's committed in different ways than you might have seen before. So yeah, big moves.
Yeah. Huge moves. I don't really know which way to look at it because, like, this could also show how like dedicated he is as a player because to be signed again for another 3 years and still have to play at this top professional level of year because Worlds was insanely stacked, insanely competitive this year, probably the most competitive we've seen in a very long time. But then also have part ownership of the company. Like no matter which way you spin it for which end of the competitive esports spectrum you look at it as, these are exactly the plays that you want to make. I think, as great of a team as T1 is, and actually I have their stats and stuff brought up. I mean, the roster summary is just absolutely insane. They've made, well over $1 billion in Dota,
Yeah.
uh, or excuse me, well over $1 million, excuse me, in Dota. Um, and just all these other esports, man. Smash, they made a good amount of money, $64,317. Of course, that's probably all MKLeo right there. I mean, they make money. This team shits money, but for good reason because they pick up great players. But
Yeah, we
is
definitely
this the
diversified
long
their
term guy? This is the
diversified the
long term
portfolio.
bag.
Yeah, I'd say like it seems like it's smart on both sides, obviously, but it just screams to me,
Mhm.
let's make money together. Like that's basically what you're saying here. You know, you got a core anchor here who's both leading on the team end, but also you got a face that people recognize. You can also pull on the business end as well. So
Mhm.
I think that might help with potential investments down the line if you see that, hey, we got both the players that can do the work, but we also they're also business savvy in a way that they're taking those kind of risks as well. Um,
Mhm.
I see that kind of happening sometimes in like the pro wrestling end sometimes too, where like you'll see a wrestler kind of rise above the ranks, and then suddenly they're involved in a promotion and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and it adds a different level of credibility to like the diehards, and
Mhm.
also to like investors to a certain extent. But I think from like just the overall esports standpoint, it's nice to see a player be able to actually move into that realm and also do so in a way that comes off as both professional but also a smart business move. It's not just because they're obviously highly invested in the product, but it makes sense for them.
Yeah, and it also kind of reinforce or stops people from reinforcing that idea of just shut up and dribble or shut up like you don't have any say. You just play the game. You don't know anything about the business aspect of this. And honestly, when you are a presence as big as Faker, like there are probably team meetings just directly about him. Not even like the actual team itself or any of the other games. Like, yo, this is the Faker meeting. Like, how do we build and brand around him? For these next so many weeks to months or however long. And it's also good to have people like that too on the board making decisions. I mean, Danny, how many times have we covered on this program? Esports organizations just mishandling players. Why not bring a player on a faker stature or even Hungry Box? I believe he's part owner of Team Liquid as well. Bring people like that on. That way, they can tell you their point of view on what it is that they would like to see, like when it comes to treating players properly. Because there's
Hmm.
so many teams out here who just, oh yeah, I forgot to get their flights. Like there was just a team of was it Halo? I think they went over to Europe, remember, and then the team put them in like a shitty hotel. Remember, there was like mold in the
Yeah,
vents
the
and all that.
hotel
Like,
was abysmal.
yeah, horrible, bro. But people like Faker on board, that type of stuff probably won't happen.
Yeah, I think this is smart from like the team standpoint as well. Just in the company, having someone that can bridge that gap. That just sometimes there are situations where your corporate end might be a little bit stiffer than the actual player base and that kind of stuff. And so having someone that can kind of address player concerns and also speak for that side of things can be really useful. I mean, you have those kind of things go down in other fields all the time. I think about Hollywood, or you have a movie set. Actors are producers now. It's,
Yes.
and you can kind of see why, because they know both finding the right project that works for a production, and also who to get behind the camera and stuff. The same goes for these kind of things.
Yeah.
Down to like coaching, player, setup. Who better, to be around for making sure that the team's ready to roll, but also that we got the right amount of player interest in the
Mhm.
team we're forming in the next couple of years. While I'm signed here, and I guess like there could be some risk of there being something down the line if there are disagreements amongst the team, because
Mhm.
Faker would have more leverage in that situation
Sure.
than the average player, but that's also a risk that you can take in some situations like this where, I mean, he's committed.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I mean his net worth, as I'm looking it up here on Google, net worth right now is around 1.1.3 million. So he's made quite a bit of money, more money than most people ever see in their lifetime, or hell, even at his level. There's other players who are at his level of skill and profession who won't see that. So I think what better way, I'm saying, to give back. But maybe not even with the mindset of giving back, but just with you on the board, reinforce the idea of like players to come being treated better. Not to say that T1 hasn't treated players good, because my man MK Leo's on that team and he's doing really good for himself.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true.
Yeah, the earnings list I was actually just referring to before is actually his 2019 earnings list for T1. Um,
I was gonna
he's
say
actually made
1.3
more.
seems way too low for that. I feel like he probably would have made that off of a couple tournament rounds through the end.
Yeah, They said
Right.
it's actually closer to 1.9. So it's about 1.9 million, which is still like that's a fuck ton of money, man. Oh my god.
I mean, for just playing, we just play a league, and you're in a scenario where, like, once you're into a full like tournament mode, you're not even like, it's not the same as some other esport situations where like you're putting together a ton of content on the side or
Mhm.
anything. Just like pure like tournament winnings and just the livelihood side. I mean, it's just to play the game and just and rack up basically. There's not it's not as much of the other things going on. So I think maybe he sees the potential there as well as far as its overall earnings potential rising because he'll have the opportunity to kind of stretch his fingers out a little bit more beyond just the game side
That's right.
of things, which is good to see. I think that overall in esports there needs to be more of that in between, structure wise for players that do you know, take interest in some of the behind the scenes and the business side of things. Because
Mhm.
overall, if the esports is going to survive and kind of live and thrive, I think there should be a bit more focus or emphasis on making sure that there's a solid kind of chain, not just command, but just a overall push through for players
Mhm.
to have some kind of face or something after they leave a scene.
Yeah, and we just need to see this type of like mentality when it comes to picking people up. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later on with the Overwatch story, how important it is to make sure that there's
Mm-hmm.
like people representing all types of people in the gaming space, whether, gender, race, your position, all that, because everybody sees things from different points of view. So you were 100% right about that. Now, really quick, so I just wanted to touch on this thing. I actually linked something before, but it was from a competing news site. We don't do that, but I did find the Twitter embed here, and I just wanted to make a quick announcement. It looks like T1 they have just announced that Roach will be the T1 the League of Legends coach for the upcoming 2023 season. Now, typically this type of stuff isn't news. Then people pick up coaches all the damn time. When you age out of the esports, area, which is
Mm-hmm.
like you're old at 24 in like traditional esports. But anyway, um, yeah, they picked them up, and it shows you like how on the ball T1 is. I mean, making these announcements this early, like the next season, of course, isn't quite here yet, and they're just like, "Yo, we gotta get the ball rolling on this. You trying to be the coach because we trying to win this thing next year. We was close, but we got to get practicing and get shit in formation now."
Yeah, it does definitely give the energy of hey, we saw where we could be. You guys see where we can be. Let's lock
Hmm.
this in now. Like
That's right.
putting on it into the and it makes it sound like they feel like things could have gone differently, but it's not because of the effort of the team.
Hmm.
There's just a level of consistency that we need to be able to reach, which we believe we can do with Roach involved as coach. So
Hmm.
that shows some confidence from the team side, but also just the organization as a whole.
I agree.
So I wonder if how involved Faker is in general with those kind of conversations. Now that he's got some investment on the actual company side.
Hmm.
If it was just a no brainer, or if they were more like uh, we know where we have made mistakes before, and things didn't go our way this time, but it's easier to clean it up
Very true.
in the off season.
Yeah, very true. I mean, this is the type of approach you have to take here, and I'm looking on the League of Legends fandom site now. Of course, like any other Liquipedia fandom type of site, these stats are subject to change based off of how angry those keyboard warriors are. They can get in here and change some shit. But just to give a quick oversight here on Roach's history with the team before we move on. Started out December 2015. Started playing for a team in Najin E Empire and played for them for about 2 years. Yeah, so played for them about 2 years, then switched over to a team called Kongdu Monster and played for them for about a year. I know, probably actually no, played for them for about 2 years. I'm sorry. So played for them 2 years and 4 months. Played for Gen G for just 11 months before switching over to Team Telecom T1. And then now, of
Mm.
course, branded into just T1 as we know it today. He's been with them ever since. And the crazy part is, here's this, Denny. He's a coach. He's only 23. Like that. Like, is that old? That's old now. 23 is old in League of
Yeah, they're
Legends.
clearly old news. Before you hit your 25th birthday.
Oh my god.
I will say it is a little bit wild, but at the same time, you know, it's interesting because they say that like you're not done maturing as far as like both brain and you know different aspects of your overall anatomy until you're like 30. So you get these kids and folks who've been playing stuff like League, since they were teenagers,
Mhm.
and their reflexes, reaction skills, like the level of just how they've had that trained over the years in ways that folks who may be older can't tap into because they've already had aspects of that part of their brain stop growing and adapting in that way.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to see, that the way that things work now. So kind of how they, work through with different organizations and also players moving on from, hey, I can't continue to do this day in day out. They're weighing, risk supports and stuff like that just to make it through the day. Those kind of situations, I feel like I wish there was a bit more of a healthier balance sometimes, from what I've seen on some of those avenues with players running into different issues down the line. But at least there's some kind of option for coaching and such for people to kind of fit the void in the middle.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree. There needs to be more ways for players to move in, and I think even as like I'll just use myself. 'Cause I don't want to talk bad about anybody else, but like as a somebody who works as a host or whatever, like your main goal is to like, okay, I want to freelance. I want to get into something more stable, right? And I'd imagine top players also need to have that same sort of mentality where, okay, I'm playing. What are my roles? And we see with Hungry Box where like he's commentating and he's hosting and he's doing like stuff like we see like Shaq and all these guys do on
mhm.
TNT. But if a player who has brought so much to the franchise, like Faker has, and this isn't to say like T1 wasn't big before Faker, but Faker, of course, has kind of helped highlight, some of the other things that makes T1 so damn powerful. Why shouldn't he have a say in touching some of that corporate bread? And I'm here for it. So, Faker, if you ever see this, a big shout out to you, young man. I'm happy that you are making the plays that you are supposed to. But that's what it's about, man. It's about not only making money in the moment, but making that long money too. Now, Denny, I hate to bring the fun down, but you see how Overwatch 2 shit today?
Yeah, Overwatch.
What's
You
going
know,
on?
there's some things here, and you know, I had some conversations with some Overwatch fans and some of my friends and players and some of that stuff. In Overwatch League as a whole, was a pretty solid movement for a while with just the commitment and the folks who were following. A lot was going
Mhm.
on with Overwatch League. Obviously, there's been a bit of a drop off of, even though there's been plenty of conversation and talk happening about Overwatch 2 in general and just the overall balance involved in
Right.
that. But Calling All Heroes was kind of like their way of trying to get more of the marginalized communities into the competitive and esports scene for Overwatch.
Yes.
And while their intentions might be good, some of what we've been seeing with some of the more recent news has left a bit more questionable taste in people's mouths with some of the conversation happening. Even now, if
Mm.
you look at the things on screen here, um, I'm not seeing any people of color involved in any of the conversations happening, and majority of the content being pushed out here. But outside just that, there are several different Overwatch teams who have had their own periods of drafting and such, and they do have a program involved in Overwatch where there's like a minor league that they
Mhm.
do actually include as well. And the name's escaping me right now. I gotta see what it is again. But the league kind of is there to give people opportunity to both harness their skill, but also potentially get involved in some of the other avenues of the pro esports scene, like the casting and stuff like that. Particularly with both marginalized communities, genders, and stuff like that. And so the intentions I feel like are good in that regard,
Mhm.
but some of the more recent news is a bit concerning. I think with just how they plan on laying some of that stuff out.
Yeah.
One of the major teams involved, I believe, was Excelsior, which is
Mhm.
the New York Overwatch esports team. They were reporting that they were trying to get a 2023 Overwatch League team together, made of like marginalized genders, transgender, and other members of the community to be part of the team.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like in general there that in itself leads to a lot of concerns because
Sure.
Overwatch has not been known for being the most positive of communities, especially when it comes to any of the fan base or how folks approach the overall players.
Mhm.
And so when you're coming into a situation where there's a toxic community to a certain extent,
Right.
the game itself has been under a lot of fire because of people asking for different balance changes, different changes to characters, etc., and those kind of things. It's it's more concerning because I don't think that they have any of the forefront or foresight to make sure that the people involved in this supposed New York team are protected from harassment for any of that. We've
Right.
had folks like Briggsy on the show, who was an avid Overwatch League supporter and such, and used to would go to majority of the esports events and live games and stuff like that. And the amount of harassment that she dealt with regularly was absurd. And she wasn't even on the team, so imagine that this team has a rough showing, at one of the events, or doesn't quite do as well as people would like them to. Will they be approaching them like every other team in that situation and giving them that same level of grace when majority of certain pockets of fans will shit on a team for any reason anyway?
Mm.
It's not a good look right now. I feel like they go that route, even if they might somewhat mean well.
Mhm.
I don't see it going the way that they think it would in that
No, not
scenario.
at all. And what's funny too is that like I've seen this type of format of bracket multiple times. And we see it a lot in fighting games where like they'll do like all like female bracket, or hell even like the combo queens, but I think, and I shouldn't. How do I phrase this? Like I think like what makes combo queens and stuff different is that they have a long standing level of respect with the community, right? Like that team is comprised of phenomenal individuals who are coming together as one big conglomerate to do something great, and people know not to, what I'm saying? Like you get in that Twitch chat, you better fucking behave, right? Don't be acting up on the combo queens. And all the other organizations like that in fighting games. But like you mentioned, though, with Overwatch having such a tainted history with the community, it was just kind of toxic from day zero. Now, again, this isn't me saying like, you know, it's okay, but this is me kind of more explaining why it is the way it is. Like, I think when we initially did the story, or at least when we originally covered the story on the show, like back in September, we talked about like how this would be a good idea if they do it properly, if they handle things properly, if Overwatch 2 has a good launch, a solid launch, everybody's rocking with the game. And I think people are having fun with it. There are still remnants of some of that toxicity from Overwatch 1. But for the most part, like this is a whole new generation of people playing it alongside some of the older people who are still playing it. But
Yeah.
there's just something about those types of brackets that I really feel like people just cannot shake out of. Like when they see, oh, this is a full bracket of like or format of people who are underrepresented in the gaming and competitive esports space. People in the Twitch chat for that just triggers something in their brain. It turns them from grasshoppers into locusts, and they just swarm and they just do stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say this, but this is one of those few aspects where like it's a good thing to do, but if you mute the chat, like if you make it to where they can't talk, that will just shake the hornet's nest even more. If you let the
Yeah,
Twitch chat be open, then you got to hire 15,000 mods to keep it clean. And at that point, it's like, is it even worth it? It's just not, it's so fucked up.
it's also a situation where like you have to consider, how people also view being selected for the team,
Mm-mm.
because then it turns into, are you selecting me because uh, my gender, or is it because of my skill level? And if
Sure.
so, when it comes to the rest of the teams, like how do you adjust accordingly? If you know that you're just trying to get folks from the selected groups involved in just
Mhm.
as one team,
That's right.
and they aren't necessarily reaching the competitive level that the others are starting out, you're setting them up for failure and also criticism and harassment all at once. I feel like they would be better off taking like the Overwatch contenders and like path to pro kind of situations where there's the underleagues, and playing out with some of those situations in that regard, so you can see maybe some of the marginalized players get better and make their way onto a professional team, compared to starting off with, we're going to put together an entire team, regardless of whether it's fully set that they've reached the level that even make it the path to pro path.
Mhm.
I think they're moving a little too fast down that route instead of taking it more into consideration why this might be a bad idea. Um,
Yeah.
it's rough. I like the idea of trying to fill the gap and be supportive, but at the same time, there's reasons why some of that doesn't work out the way it's supposed to. Um, if you're thinking of it from just filling in the void in one area, because you can say the same thing about not even just Overwatch, but just other esports in general,
Hmm.
and female
Yep.
representation, or other genders involved. I it still applies, but if you were to take like that scenario, and that's why like we brought up combo queens and stuff like that, or
Hmm.
some of the other orgs that were around and were doing some workshopping and stuff like that, or getting folks together to actually just get better.
Yeah.
Support it, having coaches and stuff like that for each player. Those kind of things are way more helpful, I feel like, and making the scene feel safer. Well, could be enough to get more people playing,
That's right.
beyond just a esports team where people might see this as you just kind of approaching things more so as a gimmick,
Mm.
uh, which is not what you want associated with your brand.
Nah, especially at a brand like Overwatch that, between them and the company, like they just gone through so much these last like, 6 or 7 years or so. And I'm glad you brought that point up because when people do things where like we want to help out like marginalized people who aren't represented well, boom, boom, boom. There's a very fine line between like, okay, they're here for the right reasons, and then it just starts to become like, oh, I'm just here as a gimmick. Like you just want me on the team because this helps you sell either a sponsorship or helps out with this level of viewership or
Mm-hmm.
boom. And like it just becomes kind of performative after a while. I do think, like you said though, that Overwatch did approach it, and New York XL, like I think all parties involved definitely approached this with the right idea, but they might have rushed into it maybe a little too quickly. Now, this isn't like saying like there's anything wrong with like trying to build a team around these types of underrepresented people, but the fact remains the same is that there's just a lot of BS attached to the Overwatch name. And I think something like this that is such a night and day tonality shift from what we know them for and what they're trying to get away from with this, it just might have been a little too abrupt. I think maybe after like so many months of Overwatch 2, maybe even like closer to a year, a format like this would have definitely been good. And not to say that this format isn't good. I think it's ran really well. Finals, for those of us out here who are fans of Overwatch 2, the Calling All Heroes Cup finals, I believe, is December 11th. So, I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
format is being ran professionally, but it was kind of doomed from the jump. And you notice the domino effect, Donnie, you brought up, man, like the people pitching this in the video aren't like there's no people of color. Like we might be in some trouble. And then like one domino turns into two, turns into three, and then like here we are, boom. What is it? It's been what, 4 months since Overwatch 2 has been out, maybe? Like they shouldn't be getting backlash like this already.
Yeah, I mean it's a mixture of things, because when you try and set up something where you're providing for one marginalized group, and then it becomes clear that you got other aspects of marginalization that aren't represented right now.
Right.
There's different avenues. There's definitely blind spots there that also become a bigger deal as you see what happens here. I would like to see. We have the tournament space like you mentioned,
Mhm.
which I mean the Challengers Cup and stuff like that, and calling out heroes, cool. But I think that me personally, and maybe other folks that are enjoying Overwatch right now, would like to see maybe more of the personal side of some of these players who you're trying to
Mm.
bring into potentially making their way through up the esports ladder.
Yes.
Maybe some conversations or interviews with them, and show me like them breaking down some content, or like where are the coaches involved?
Mhm.
Are we bringing in marginalized groups of those avenues too when it comes to both the coaching side, the actual owners of said teams, or the in betweens for management and GMs? Like, I want to see all that avenues of those kind of things happening behind the scenes, and
Mhm.
then I think overall that would also make me feel a bit more confident in their ability to be able to pull off something like this before we move into the overall just cost save on the team side. Show me more of that kind of effort happening behind the scenes for some of the other portions of what we see on the
Yeah.
field.
Because I like transparency and wanting change in front of the scenes is one thing, but that's not where the issue with Overwatch started. They started behind the scenes, and then of course anything that happens in the dark comes to light sooner or later, and that spilled out into the public. So you're right. Like until they make some proper background changes, they ask gonna be in some trouble, man. But as long as they keep this type of mentality, as long as they keep doing things with this type of mindset, like we just want change, we want like to represent more people. At least they got like the right foot forward, but
Yeah,
they do
intentions
have
are
to
good.
actually,
That
yeah.
is true. It's just that a lot of times you have situations where your intentions are good, but at the same time, when it comes to marginalized communities and groups, like they don't have the luxury of just the intentions. Like there has to be forethought and other things in place as well to make sure that those groups are safe and
Mhm.
treated and protected. It goes beyond that. And I think that sometimes when you get to the higher ups and such, they forget about that part um, across the board.
Every time, man. Well, let's actually move on really quick to another shooter. Now, this is something that typically like we would have probably thrown in the esports rundown, but I think because of like, just how popular of a goddamn sport football is, we gotta talk about this, or just really just sports in general, kind of segueing over to the esports space. Now, in Call of Duty, got some DLC upon us. No surprise, right?
Yeah.
But we got Neymar Jr., Messi, and Paul Pogba are all three, excuse me, coming to Call of Duty. And if I'm not mistaken, I had something linked here of their actual like character mock-up. I thought I had it in the run of show. Let me find it really quick. But they looked damn good. Oh yeah. Oh my god. Look at this here. Hold on. I'm gonna put it in the dude. Now, the graphics, I mean, it was just looking. I mean, this is just chef's kiss, Danny. Come on. This damn computer. All right, there it is. Yo, this is the type of crossovers I like to see. I didn't even think of like how important getting your character or getting your likeness over into another game is. Typically we see it in like I don't know, like traditional sports games. Like I want it to look as much like me as possible. But damn, imagine being able to play as like Neymar or Messi or any of these guys in Call of Duty, though, man. Like, what do you think about this, Denny?
I mean, this is a wild ass crossover. I mean, like it's clearly like it's epic. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend that like I'm a major COD player or anything, but I do think that having this kind of level, like I mentioned before, you got folks like Patrick Mahomes, tweeting out that hey, Call of Duty's dropping. Me and the boys are on bye week. We hit up the game. Like it opens the door for a lot of interesting stuff to go down. I would love to see some NBA or football players, getting their own skin options. I mean, plenty of college players are major sports fans. If you tell me that I can run around, you know, as my favorite player, if I could put out a Justin Fields skin while I'm tossing grenades, then sure,
Mm,
why not? Give me like a nice little Bears logo on my dog tag or something too while you're at it. Like,
that's right.
but I also feel like this is also just giving you the an idea of the scale of Call of Duty in general. I mean, obviously the World Cup is massive. Only happens every couple of years, but Call of Duty is also massive. You know, the two things combining makes sense, and also when you see it all coming together, you definitely expand on this moving forward. When we saw like this on the sports side of things, there's conversations about your Ronaldo's and such, or Messi trying to sign a new deal and stuff like that for millions of dollars. Uh, Something like this seems like a no-brainer in comparison.
Yeah, it just seems like a layup. I sometimes wonder though. Sometimes like the negativity or like the backlash that Overwatch gets, and like how different your agents probably handle you over in the gaming space versus the actual like traditional sports space. I wonder if they were just like, "Hey, I'm down," or if like this was something they had to kind of run by their agents and the people who are in charge of their PR. Because at their level of play, they definitely have all those agents kind of in their little
Mm-hmm.
social bubble. But hey, we want to put you in a game where you're like, and now I don't mind this, but you know how like the average person is who doesn't know anything about gaming. Like you want to put this dude in a game and have him shoot and kill stuff and people. Like I wonder if it was like, yeah, I'm down. Oh, yeah, hold on, let's have a meeting about this first, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait a minute. You're gonna have a automatic weapon in here. You sure you want to be in here with your likeness? But I feel like it just makes it just. I can't explain why it makes sense. It just does. Like
I
it just
feel
needs to
like
happen.
that's more so because of it being Call of Duty. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that you would see this happening with other games
Mm-hmm.
outside of like maybe something where you're shooting aliens or something like that. But COD is just so massive from a worldwide perspective, and then you have soccer, which is also worldwide. The combination of those two things, I think, work in a way that um, I don't think would come together the same way in other regards. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a unique situation, but then when actually you see it in effect, it's like it makes sense for what Call of Duty is and who these players are. I feel like the combination of both together makes sense. Like what do they do when they get home, with the boys
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. It's a
Yep.
major win for I guess Microsoft now if the Activision if the Activision deal goes through. Just having that kind of visibility in general is something special. But yeah, I get what you're saying though. Obviously, mowing down people in a game with your face on it is definitely a concern. I'm sure PR probably talked about before signing this kind of stuff down. But I feel like because of the way that Call of Duty is looked at, like you remember like the commercials, you know, when the last couple of games came out and they had celebrities, dropping out of planes and you know, your Kevin Hart's and such or Gronkowski and sewing up in full regalia and armor and all that stuff and blowing up stuff with a rocket launcher. It feels like Call of Duty just kind of reached that level where people kind of they don't really look at it as the war game the same way that it might come through in the single player campaign and stuff like that.
Sure.
But yeah, with like Warzone being the way it is too, and just like the avenue of what the whole open map scenario, battle royale type of stuff is, I think that's kind of like why it has less of that, I guess, vibe or
Mm.
energy towards it. That like I feel like if he did this with like Battlefield, it might have been different, like
Oh, actually,
comparatively.
true. True. True.
Uh,
You're right.
but yeah,
Yeah,
it's still
that's
pretty cool.
yeah, it is, and I can't get over how good like the character models look. I think more than anything else, this is a good way for them to show off that like when you play the new sports game, one of the big things you're always worried about is how good the characters look, like how much of their likeness is actually implemented. Where we don't really see that in Call of Duty, like that's something we don't really care about because I mean you can make a character and stuff like that, but like you don't get that big celebrity crossover. This is I mean, there are famous soldiers out there, like famous people in the army, but like none of them are in Call of Duty. So that's something that like those type of people who are looking for those types of things in gaming, they don't look to Call of Duty for that. But now it's like, oh, they're not only are they in here, but they not like covered up head to toe in a helmet and like a Master Chief bodysuit. And you can't really tell. Like, no, look at how good they look, and man, these character models are badass. And I don't know, man. I don't know, Overwatch. I might need to take some notes. You know what I'm saying? This is how you launch a game. You know what I'm saying? Because this is looking goddamn good here. This is how you handle it.
I don't think we're gonna see any soccer players in Overwatch, but
That's facts.
maybe in Apex or something.
Yeah.
They could have a little fun with some skins or something like that. But at the same time, it makes sense for COD. I feel like just having it be like the way it is now, it fits for what they're trying to do. I can see them like going more that route too with something like Fortnite.
Mm. Mm.
Obviously, wouldn't be a as good looking as far as the actual model goes and stuff like that. But soccer jerseys and such, why not?
Mm. Yeah, that's how where I'm at with it too, man. I mean, we've talked about it so many times on the show, like that we just live in a day and age where we need to see more crossovers. We need to see more like, damn, I didn't even know that that could be a thing, and yet it is. I feel like there's been so many people in the industry who just want games that play by the rules in terms of like DLC and skins, or just even like games being packaged. Hell, I mean, with that in mind, like actually, let's talk about a company who has revitalized a genre of game over and over and over again, and this time is going to push it to its absolute limits. Let's talk about Capcom. Let's talk about Street Fighter, man. All right, now here we are talking about these soccer players coming over to Call of Duty and pushing the envelope, but Street Fighter's doing that without the DLC. Like they are just, hey, we got black characters, all right, you know what I'm saying? Black characters that are recognizably black, okay? Also, we got hip hop, street shit, all types of stuff in here. And to top it all off, I know you've seen this, man. They gave us the Capcom Cup dates for next year. Bro, are we pulling up, Denny? Are we finally about to turn it up? What's up?
I mean, like if I had the beans to make it happen, I totally would. It is fairly early in the year though, but yes, Capcom Cup should be hype. It's going down February 12th through 19th, so fairly early on in the year. Which also, I'm curious, where things fall for Street Fighter Six.
Mm-hmm.
Since I imagine that we're gonna have some more announcements and things like that for the brand new game as we move into a new season. But I'm hoping that this also means that they're going to have more information about the new game and also where that's going to go within the earlier part of the year. I've been
Sorry.
speculating for a while now that we're going to get it, earlier than later, even
Mm-hmm.
with Resident Evil 4 dropping in March.
Yep. Yep.
Do they want to go head to head with Mortal Kombat, which will probably have some kind of April release date? Probably not.
Oh.
But if they were to, make some announcements for the end of February, I wouldn't mind seeing something going down there. I still have fingers crossed that we'll get some more information as well at the Game Awards this year, but
Oh
we'll
yes.
have to see if they kind of finally give us a release date. But yeah, Street Fighter League World Championships, all that looks pretty good. I mean, this is basically the last call for Street Fighter Five, pretty much, because we've already worked our way through. I don't see us making it to another Evo with five being the next game. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what release date we get, it's going to be before the major tournament scenes start to get up again in the summer.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much it here, where you got an opportunity here to make a name for yourself, or more so, a bigger name for yourself if you're already established.
Yeah.
But this is a big deal.
Yeah. I think a lot of the fighting game community period is riding on the launch of Street Fighter 6. I think I think it kind of goes without saying, but for the people who are, I guess, Street Fighter naysayers or just who don't like the franchise, like you could say really what you want about it. I didn't really grow up playing a lot of Street Fighter, but I know that Street Fighter sets the tone. And with the Game Awards coming up, like you said, and of course Capcom Cup, and I would imagine like Combo Breaker C on Evo, they're going to have stuff for us there as well. Like how they handle that game will really determine how big of a fighting game renaissance this is going to be. And I know that in the past they have like shown trailers and game footage of the new game. Now, granted, when it was four going into five, and Mike Ross played it on stage, I think with Gutex or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The game, of course, was not quite as accessible because gaming events and gaming conventions weren't as accessible. So, like, we didn't have like kiosks and stuff for the new title.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are people who have been legally playing a lot of Street Fighter Six, and then who have also illegally been playing a lot of Street Fighter
Oh
Six
my
grinding.
gosh.
All right, that has certainly been a thing, and those people will remain unnamed. But the fact of the matter is that there are people who've been playing it, and we have a good idea of like what we want out of the game, which is so good for Capcom. Get it in the hands of people who need it early. Give us your thoughts. Okay, boom. We'll start fixing things. We'll start going back to what we need to do.
Yeah.
But like whatever happens at Capcom Cup, that's gonna be big, man. Like, I mean, we know we've seen the leaks. But it ain't out of left field for them to throw us a curveball. Like, yeah, you know you seen them leaks, but you wasn't ready for this though. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, Capcom seems to be playing things a bit less close to the chest as they had in the past. I mean, when the roster leaked, they were like, okay, like here's the roster. Like you're not gonna. I feel like Capcom in the past would have handled things differently, but now it's like I can see them having some surprises here. We still have plenty of characters on the list that we haven't seen any gameplay from. There's been conversations in the past from the actual creative team about wanting Luke, Jamie, and Kimberly to kind of be like their new Ryu Ken and Chun Li, basically.
Oh
The new
wow.
the new school. So like they're putting a lot of time and investment into these characters, and also Kimberly being spoken about in that way makes me feel like okay, they're really making moves for some of the new brass coming in. So with that, I feel like this is a prime opportunity to maybe get some new gameplay from some characters that we haven't seen yet, or
Mhm.
ones that haven't announced. But I'm really hoping that by this time we'll either have a release date already ready to roll, or then maybe they'll have like the game itself playable again at the event or something like that, or they'll announce a beta or something like that if it's not dropping in those first couple months, and that would be pretty cool. Obviously, the actual tournament and stuff like that itself is still going to be a fun time, especially having like the Street Fighter League. I'm happy to see that we get the World Championship there because I do like the format of the way the league works. But I I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't more excited for anything involving Street Fighter Six in comparison. But I hope that we get a diverse group of players for the overall event.
Mhm.
Just to kind of close out Street Fighter Five.
Yeah. I think it's a good storybook ending too, to that point where we're like, all right, this is the climactic conclusion of everything Street Fighter Five related. Like there still might be tournaments, that are gonna go on after this potentially, but this is like the one. And I think the beautiful thing about Street Fighter is that all the titles I don't know how five is going to be handled, but I know people are still playing two, three, and four quite a bit. I don't know if five is going to get that same love, but people are going to keep playing it, I suppose. But it feels like this is how you close out a game. You have the new title there, let people know what to look forward to. You've already been playing around with it. Everybody seems to really like it. For give or take some key things that need some tweaking, but that's any fighting game. No fighting game is perfect, especially not this early. Like the fact that Street Fighter 6 looks this early and it's not even out yet says a lot about what's about to go down. But then you got Street Fighter 5 and everybody's still hungry to be the final champion in that. Man, like, all right, cool. We got that old chapter shutting it down. Then we got boom. That's the end of that book. We got the new book opening up too because we want people to play, or whatever sort of content they do for six here. Like this is how you do it, man. And after 3 years of no cap, it's so crazy to even think about. Like gone for 3 years to finally have it back is crazy. Now, when you do Capcom Cup, there's tournaments, right? You got to qualify. But were there any tournaments on the? There wasn't even a tour this year, was it?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that the way the tour was set up was different with the way that Capcom was handling things overall because you still had your return to tournament events like Combo Breaker and Evo and such
Mm, mm.
and those kind of things. I'm forgetting the one in the earlier part of the year, uh, final round
Oh
and stuff
yes,
like
yep,
that.
yep, yep, yep. You're right.
But at the same time, not everyone can make it to all those events for obvious reasons, with the pandemic being what it is. So I think that maybe there's a bit more security as far as like people feel like they can actually make that travel happen, especially if there's any kind of hint of having a new playable build of Street Fighter Six. I feel like you're gonna get a diverse crowd involved. Obviously, there's still been events happening overseas and such, and there's stuff like Evo Japan planned. But I feel like your Daigos and those kind of types are going to be coming out for this event to be able to put their name somewhere on it, but also to maybe get an opportunity at something else Street Fighter Six related,
Hmm.
whether it's an exhibition or a beta announcement or something playable on the show floor of new characters. There's definitely plenty of ways for Capcom to hype this up and kind of lead into some solid momentum after the show.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt about it, man. I think like the marketing team and just kind of like the creative direction team that we have seen with Capcom is. I felt like once upon a time it might have been rivaled, right? Like it might have been rivaled by other companies like Tekken. They do a very good job with their rollout trailers when they choose to
Hmm.
do things, when they choose to talk about it. Smash, of course, which and I'm saying it very loosely, Denny, so don't kill me. One of the best-selling fighting game ever, fighting game, right? They had a very interesting approach with how they decided to, get their characters and content out. But I think just I feel like Street Fighter 6 and the way they're handling it has been a love letter back to the FGC. I think Street Fighter 5 and I wasn't in the community, but I'm watching it from a distance at other events. They
Yeah.
were very much focused on like the esports and like, how can this game change people's lives? How can people get paid to do this? And I think those are beautiful things to focus on. There are people like James Chen who've been commentating since 1872 who needs to make this a living for himself. But he was already pretty good before that. But he's just an example, a hypothetical example. But now it feels like, okay, the new game's coming out. We ain't really had much going on in a long time because of the game and because of the pandemic. Let's get this game into the hands of the community. Let's see how they feel about this. Let's get this I mean, it was at first Attack in Puerto Rico when I went. It was at pretty much every other fighting game tournament. And I'm like, you know what? You know what, Street Fighter? You finally get it. Not to say you didn't get it before, but now you know, okay, we made the esports money, but we didn't make none of this money without the people. We got to start doing stuff for the community again. And
Yeah.
dude, I'm here for it, bro.
And there's definitely been a shift in kind of like the community focus, but also communication. I think communication
Mm-hmm.
has been huge. Just the process between development, and it's been happening since some of the later seasons of Street Fighter Five. After the design teams were swapped out and kind of like the way they approach talking to the community directly,
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely been a positive effect on how the community approaches any kind of new content, but also just a level of optimism. I feel like that is good to have when you have a new game on the lineup. But even when they had the beta out, sure, some things might have been a little bit jank, or there might have been some situations where people were like, "Oh, this is kind of broken" and such. But overall, none of that was overshined. None of that overshined the excitement for the game itself. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's a bit different than kind of where we were at Street Fighter V's launch, where things were both bare bones, but also there were several different issues with the game itself. I
Mm-hmm.
think that like they feel confident both in the game so far, but also in how they're approaching conversation with the community. And I think that while lots of things happened under Ono's reign when it came to Street Fighter 4 and 5,
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely a positive shift. I feel like with how they approach overall communication and setup and marketing and such in a way that people are going to remember. Uh, that being said, I hope that other companies are also taking note as well when it comes to that level of communication. I mean, we've got stuff like Mortal Kombat, for example, or NetherRealm, who have been basically radio silent for 2+ years at this point. Nothing coming out of the woodwork for their game or games, depending. We don't even know yet. In comparison, and I wish that the fighting game companies that are out there take more consideration into where they leave their player base when they wrap up for a game or swap games, or if there's a different project in the works and those kind of things. Because you look at the Mortal Kombat community or Injustice community and stuff like that, and where they are now. Sure, people still play the game, but there's been nothing fostering that kind of community and keeping it going in a way that you could build up the kind of hype with just a couple of photos, basically.
Man.
When you got a fire community and you're actually engaging with them, even when I look back at the Killer Instinct community, way smaller game in consideration, and one that was originally started off as an Xbox arcade game,
Mm-hmm.
and what that community built out of it, and where they ended up going to with their Killer Instinct Cup and all this other stuff, special tourneys at Combo Breaker and such. Communities can really build out and flesh out more than what even your marketing team does at times, and I feel like there should be some appreciation for the fan base. Don't just disappear
Mm-hmm.
after selling thousands of millions of dollars worth of copies of games, and all of your DLC is ran through, and your new characters have ran through, and your tournament's over, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, developers need breaks too. I understand that,
Sure.
but at the same time, there should be some kind of not just person, but some aspect of the company overall that's keeping in contact with the community in a way that lets them know, hey, we're still taking care of you guys after the game is ran its course. It
Yes.
goes a long way in people's eyes. I feel like, or they feel like they're actually still being appreciated for, fostering parts of both the community side and the player base.
And you know what's funny too is like when Mortal Kombat, when that game gets brought up, or Injustice, whichever one is out at the time, when it's time to talk CEO and Evo and Combo Breaker, there's always like this. Well, why don't we get a spot? Now, I think to the community, it's a little unfair for them to even have to ask that question because, like, they should technically firmly always have a spot at
Mm.
these types of events. But you don't only just get a spot based off of like how, let me rephrase that. It shouldn't be like this, but you're not supposed to only just get a spot based off of like how popular your game is or whatever. Like, of course, that does play a big effect, but it's about the community and the relationship between the community and the developers. But it's like if Evo happened tomorrow, how could we even make a justifiable claim for Mortal Kombat to even be there? Like Street Fighter, yes. Tekken, yes. There's still tours going on for this game, still vibrant, popping community. And I'm in actually a couple discords. I'm in an Injustice 2 Discord. I'm fucking god awful with my Catwoman, but I'm in there soaking up game, watching people practice and play. I follow Mr. Aquaman on Twitter. We're very, familiar with each
Mm.
other. And I'm just like, why are there no more, Mortal Kombat NetherRealm sanctioned events? At least not to a level like what we're seeing from the other fighting game competitors. And it's like, wait, how? How do you even treat this game like this? This is, I mean, bro, I'm just gonna call it for what it is. I think Street Fighter is probably the most revolutionary fighting game ever. But when it comes like just popularity, like, bro, I show a picture of Johnny Cage to somebody or Scorpion, like people know what's good. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you treating this game like this?
there's a level of mainstream I feel like that MK passes through. Obviously, they just had a movie not too long ago either.
Facts.
But it's and there's a sequel in the works and such. But it's
Unfortunately.
but there's elements that I feel like Capcom sets the standard
Sure.
when it comes to things, and then right now I got to give credit to Guilty Gear and such for also setting standards right now because they got the net code popping and getting things working in a way that people always said, hey, you know what, maybe we have to actually invest in our connection and online capabilities when it comes to these games
Hmm.
in net code. And if you remember, MK had a period of that too with MKX.
Hmm.
They went through and reworked how the actual connections work before adding in crossplay and stuff towards the end of MKX's life cycle. And that side added a lot of faith to the community, a lot of faith from the community. I mean, with just how they handled some of those things moving forward. But you need more than that in the long run. I think that Capcom just understands that now. You can't just have your tournament sites and your you know different dates for different events and stuff like that running through, and not have ways for people to actually impact the game,
Hmm.
both from like the player standpoint, but also just the overall community side. And I think the more that those have kind of meshed a bit more, the better spirit the community has had in general about the game coming out.
Hmm.
And even it's kind of like ripped off on Street Fighter Five too. I think that where there was a lot of complaints about the game originally, and I mean there still are, but there seems to be a more positive aspect going around too when it comes to Five. The past few months with just the player base and who's showing up for tournaments. But this is an opportunity. I feel like the fighting game community in general, they basically picked their poison with the amount of games coming through potentially this year, and kind of demanding more to a certain extent. Not just from like the esports and competitive scene, but just saying, hey, what we may have been okay with paying $70 for before. I want more. Like like I want to see more of that happening after the fact, and not just when you're trying to sell me DLC, or you have to get this DLC because you have to stay competitive and have to be able to play up these matchups, et cetera, et cetera. Like I just want to see more of the extension past the content life cycle of a game. Because I don't think that fighting games have to necessarily be an endless rain of content, which is something that you can kind of say about Tekken because they've been pushing out characters still. That game's nearly 8 years old now, but there has to be some kind of positive communication between developer and player base, and not just when you try to sell me something.
I agree. I agree. Hopefully they get it together. Again, a lot of what we're going to see in the next so many months, at least in the scope of fighting games, is it's going to be a foundation laid specifically by Capcom and how they're going to choose to handle not just six, but really their events. CEO combo breaker events that run all their games. Whether it's Marvel vs. Capcom or whatever. And I'm kind of curious. And I know we talked about before, but I'm more than anything curious to see how like Capcom and Namco, Bandai Namco, with the new Riot game that's coming out February never of 2000 and never, whenever that shit comes out. I'm like, okay, like we're going to see a lot of juggernauts on the back end having to play nice with each other. So I'm excited for that. But really quick here, I just seen this. We were talking earlier, not to rewind, but we were talking earlier about the Overwatch team doing the Overwatch 2 team, NYXL, doing, their their roster of underrepresented people. League of Legends and Valorant are doing the same thing too. I just want to drop this really quick right before we jump into this Panda Cup stuff here, because it seems like some other teams, some other organizations are starting to follow suit here. So this thing called Rising Stars is happening. Let me see if I can get it up
here.
Yeah, just really quick. It says we're excited to launch our new female-only tournament, Rising Stars. Get your teams together and sign up before November 22nd and follow Rising Stars NE for more details. Now, this is going to be not only a League of Legends event, but I believe it's also supposed to be a Valorant event as well. Now, again, love this idea. Little afraid of like the backlash implies that they did something wrong. It's not backlash. I'm just a little afraid of the blowback from shithead Twitter people. But is this a new trend that we're going to start seeing more now, Dan? Are we going to start seeing more like only black tournaments, only underrepresented tournaments, women only tournaments? I don't have an issue with it, but you know how Twitch chat and Twitter are about things, man, and Reddit and really just the internet.
I mean, in terms of running these kind of events, it's less about being afraid of where people might get attacked from. It's more about being preemptive, like making these situations safe in the first place. I think is the more important thing, because there's groups like Black Girl Gamers that run women only tourneys for stuff like Apex and such, both in person and online, and they go fairly well. But they also are in situations where like they're either at public events, in person, or they have private events and such. If you do something like this where there's going to be something that's more open for anyone to view, you have to be prepared for that. I feel like with League being League, you're making enough money to put behind making sure that an event like this goes off smoothly, but also that the people involved, are protected on that end. Whether it's having Twitch bots involved, a company like League being as big as it is, they can talk to Twitch directly.
That's also facts.
To help put things in place. So I don't want to discourage folks from having the tourneys and stuff like that may be focused on something that might be female only, or a tournament that's ran for like competitive folks in the like Black League scene or something like that. Across the board of esports, it's more so that like when it comes to anything like this, the same as you would do for situations where it involves charity or other situations. You have to make sure that there is both an amount of effort and uh, time being spent on making sure that it's going to be a safe space to be in
Mhm.
for those kind of situations. You want to be able to have that already. That should be thought about just as early as the actual tournament organization itself. Um, and I think that you gotta get some of that in real life with the way that actual in-person tourneys are handled on a major scale, and making sure that people feel safe at those events has always been a really important thing. And when it doesn't happen, you always hear about it. So the same goes for these kind of events too. They should start from the ground up, making sure that there's safety and voices are being heard too.
Yeah.
Have a meeting with the groups and teams that are being signed or signed up for this or beforehand. Make sure that there's no concerns before actually going live and everything else.
Mm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hard agree with that, man. I think for a company as big as League of Legends, it just makes sense, man. And Valorant, I think Valorant's in on this as well too. But I couldn't find the link for that, but
Mm-hmm.
um, again, I think it's just another aspect of like this isn't the first of these types of these style of brackets, but there is more of a demand for them now since we've seen them last. And it's another example of like, damn, Overwatch went first, fucked it up. That's how we not gonna do this. Let me show you how we gonna handle this. And I think they're doing this beautifully. Um, when I went to the Dominican Republic, there were God, what is the team Capitancito plays for? He plays for it's escaping me right now, but there are a lot of like female players on that team, female identifying players, and I think it's awesome. And that they still came out supported. I think they may have even played on Friday. This was like Saturday when I finally got a chance to speak with them. But I can't help but to think, man, gaming is starting to, inhabit more spaces than what they did even when we were coming up in it. Even within just the last 3 years, there are young kids coming out of high school and heading to college or coming out of college looking to, figure out what the next play for them is in esports. And the fact that like we can't even get these style of brackets on the internet where a lot of these games have to exist without dealing with questioning the integrity. Like, yeah, what type of history does this company have with hosting these types of events? Are they even in the right position? Are they even the people who should be doing this? Then, of course, the blowback from like Twitter people. It's just like, damn, like, at what point in time do we have to set all that aside and just let people play? Like, why can't we just let people play the game? So, hopefully, this is coming up November 22nd, just here in the next so many days. I know that this bracket, of course, is a little smaller than what we've seen with the Calling All Heroes, which was like a thing that took place over a few months, finishing up in
I mean, it looks
December.
like this might have
I,
actually already happened.
yeah, I think this might actually already went down.
Yeah, I see that yeah, they have a finished bracket here, so it looks
Yeah.
like it ran through and G2 Hell took the winning grand finals 2-0. It looks like, and they do
Oh
have
shoot.
it looks like a private Discord as well. So it looks like that they've been running things. The initial tournament setup and Discord was opened a few weeks ago. So I like the idea of having like a setup where you can have private communication and private games going down for something like this. So there's like some intimate communication going on between both teams, but also organizers without all the hubbub. And it just
Oh, okay. I read this wrong. My bad. So yeah, signups start November 4th. Signups close on the 22nd, but the tournament days though. Oh wait, that already these already ran. Okay, bet. That okay, yeah. Well, I mean, again, another avenue of like, yo, like we actually ran it, was successful, and like what's good. And now it looks like they're adding Valorant to the roster for next season, which is in 2023 sometime soon. So I mean, damn, League and Valorant got it right. Overwatch is struggling, man. This is damn.
yeah, I mean a lot goes into these things because again it's a bit different than certain situations you might be used to when you're looking at say combo queens and stuff like that where it's a 1v1 situation.
Mhm.
For these, you have to get together an entire team and uh, supporting entire teams. You got to make sure that the setup is both good for everyone involved, but also that you got the manpower to handle anything that might come up, as well as far as like a having any kind of public front facing side to the event and stuff like that. But it looks like they try to make this more of a event just to encourage folks to get involved.
Mhm.
Uh, and hopefully that community is building in the Discord and such as well, so that they can run games and get better over time. I encourage that kind of stuff where it's you take place in a competitive atmosphere. It may not be necessarily the top pro level, but it gives you a taste of what you might be able to do down the line in a safe environment. I think when there's more safe environments being fostered in general, it leads to better play overall, and also more diversity as far as who's playing.
Mhm.
People take for granted just how big of a deal that is. Being able to play in safe environments and also around people that you respect or support is huge. Not
Mhm.
just in esports, but in any kind of competitive field.
Mhm. Yeah, this is a community, man, and like, I mean, I hate to say it, but there are some great titles out there, who are, great games, but the community behind them either, isn't strong enough, isn't big enough to make a push, or is just super toxic. And uh, I mean, it just goes to show, man, that at least in gaming, like your title, at least on how it's going to be handled professionally, is only as powerful as the community that supports it. I mean, we've seen this most notably with Evil just a couple years back, where like it was Pokken tournament versus Marvel versus Capcom 3 on who's going to get that final community tournament spot, and like you really got to see the outpour of like how open and just like powerful the Pokken community was, but also how strong and formidable the Marvel vs. Capcom community was. And
Yeah.
crazily enough, those two games have probably stronger communities than some of the games that were on the big stage. So again, it's all about the community at the end of the day. So my bad. I just wanted to drop that in there really quick because I completely spaced on it. I seen it on the TL pop up and I was like, oh wait, it's another one. We need to we need to jump in on it. So let's jump in on this Panda Cup stuff really quick because I really want to have some fun and sauce talk today, bro. We got Panda Cup has finally announced their qualifiers for the Panda Cup, which is going to be taking place December 15th and running through the weekend. LCQ, I believe, is that Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the actual tournament. And for those who don't know, friends, if you're in the downtown LA area or just really in Southern California, this event is free to the public. That's right, it is free venue. So come pull up and see, some of your favorite players or soon to be favorite players. Just a quick rehash. The Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster has been locked in for Panda Cup finale, powered by Gonna Need Milk. The remaining 4 spots are up for grabs at the Wonderful Pistachios Last Chance Qualifier, taking place December 15th at the LA Convention Center. So, quick recap. Sonic's Riddles and Toast all qualified at the very, very first Panda Cup stop since they had announced it. Boom, pandemic, boom, back at CEO. Onin and Big D qualified to Get on My Level in July. MK Leo and DeBuzz a little late to the party, but qualified at Smash Factor.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron qualified at the PAX Almost Pro Invitational. Mars, Meister, and Lima all qualified at Lost Tech City. Light, Tweak, and Mutates all qualified at the Big House 10. Raven King, MPG, Jake, Death Spade, Sens, all qualified at what looks to be the online qualifiers, which I didn't know had such a heavy hand into the actual format of bracket
Mm-hmm.
itself. Chag qualified in Mexico. Akla qualified at Let's Make Moves Miami. Anarchy and Justice both qualified at the Northeast stops online. Karama at Port Priority. Apollo Kage and Anathema at DreamHack Atlanta just a couple weekends ago. And then these last 2 spots here, Denny, Cola and Zamba both qualified through panel voting. What are your thoughts on that? Coming
I
from the world of
mean,
Street Fighter, who have seen this bracket, this style of format so many other times,
so who's
voting.
on the panel? I mean, how does the panel exactly work in a way that's decided? That's what I'm wondering. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I mean, just looking at the overall like qualifiers. We've talked obviously a ton about Smash over the past few months,
Mhm.
but I feel like some of the names that I'm seeing here stand out more than others as far as how they qualified or what they are, where they're getting their wins from in
Mhm.
comparison. Yeah, I I feel like just looking at the overall list, considering this is just ultimate, we didn't get to Melee yet. Um, I don't know how I feel about some of this. Considering that you still have these last chance qualifier spots too.
Mhm.
Uh, there's a lot going on.
I think
Again,
4 is a little much for an LCQ. Like I think in an LCQ, I think
it's
like top 2 should get out, maybe 1, but 4 is kind of that's quite a bit.
I feel like maybe three at the most. Like there should be like a third option if there's some kind of tied showdown situation or something. But yeah, four is definitely a lot. And is there any kind of penalty in that last chance spot? I guess just being having to play that the way that they are would be enough. I guess.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know the overall vibe for this list for
It's
someone
a
who
little.
doesn't play Smash is
I feel like it's a little. So the World Tour, Smash World Tour had their issues just a couple weeks ago at Apex, where the point
yeah.
system, the Smash community got its first taste of. I was almost there, and then this guy went to a tournament that I didn't go to, and boom. This one's a little different. This one is just about where you place. That's how you qualify, which we have
Yeah.
seen that before. But for something like this, I would have expected them to maybe do the point system too. The one thing that I do really like about the qualification tournaments that they kind of chose to team with is that when you when it's only about how well excuse me the players have placed, it gives you the opportunity to highlight the tournament itself more, which I think
Hmm.
Panda Cup does a really good job at doing. The Smash World Tour does an okay job at that as well, but like I got to constantly keep looking up points, which fluctuates all the time. There's not slides
Hmm.
being played for it on stream, and then sometimes you even forget like certain tournaments are happening. Panda Cup does a really good job of making sure you know what's happening, but I'm just a little back and forth here on the panel vote. Now, I don't mind the two players that got in. Zamba and Kohler are two players that we have talked about on this program
Hmm.
time and time again. But bro, voting players in, it just sits a little weird for me. Panda's done a pretty good job over the last so many years of being completely unbiased and actually looking at the numbers and all that type of jazz. But it's like, damn, I don't go to. It's not that they didn't go to anything all year. They did go to a lot of tournaments, but it's like, damn, I didn't go to anything that I placed well at, and I still got in. It's like, is that fair? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like people ask questions like that, whether it's fair or not, depending on how they placed or an actual event. And
yeah.
like, it's one thing if you're knocked out early. It's another thing if you end up in the finals and people are questioning how you even got here. But at the same time, it makes things interesting. I mean, this is obviously a diverse list of players given the format and how they were selected.
Mm,
Um, and I do somewhat like that. It's based off of qualifying events and such, but it's also like, damn, like, is it because of I guess because the majors hold more weight with CEO, but then seeing Lost Tech City and stuff in there.
mm-hmm.
Obviously, big house too, but uh, I feel like this would be a bit different in my mind if there wasn't a whole other tournament circuit running at the same time.
Sure, sure.
Uh, but yeah, you know, I think that adding some unpredictability to the element is smart from like the tournament side. I just don't know if like folks who aren't being selected are going to feel that way
Right.
in comparison. But I'm
And
sure if you're watching, it's going to be entertaining.
I suppose, I mean, that's just a good point. I mean, the entertainment, of course, is like probably the biggest thing they're curious on. But I think I'm looking at MVD right here, and he says, I'm very curious as to who was on the Panda Cup panel. I
Yeah.
want to know how close I was to getting a spot, and after closely looking at the data, why I didn't actually end up getting picked. Stuff doesn't seem to add up. And so, of course, players say stuff like this. They're in their full right to feel a type of way. This is your livelihood. Boom, boom, boom. But then we go on to look at the points. Now, Cola, fifth at Gommel, second at the Invitational in September, and then 25th at Let's Make Moves Miami. Zamba, ninth at CEO, fourth at Lost Tech City, ninth at the Big House, so placed out of top 8 twice. Fifth at Let's Make Moves Miami, seventh at Port Priority number 7. So I was present for a good chunk of these. He goes on to say, my PGR wins include Zamba at 9th, which he did beat, and Gact, the Nest main from Japan. And my lowest placing is 13th. So people are kind of like, maybe MVD did deserve that chance. And I think MVD always suffers from people kind of forgetting about him. He's very good. He has actually won a major. He won the first Smash Ultimate major. He won Don't Park on the Grass in a matchup that people thought at the time wasn't even winnable. Him versus Esam. Pikachu up until this point always had the statistical edge over Snake. And then he beat Esam, the best Pikachu, and flipped the entire meta on his head. So I'm like, friends, you got to give MVD some more respect. All right, at least put his name in the topic of discussion. Even if he doesn't get his way, just don't forget about that boy. Now, really quick, let's touch on the Melee aspect of this, because this, I think, was one part of the Panda Cup that people, probably aren't as up to date on. But for the Melee aspect of this, with all the panelists selections finalized, here is the full roster for the Super Smash Bros. Melee players at the Panda Cup finale, powered by Gonna Need Milk. And we got, let's see who we got here. We got Plup, Magi, and Chem, all qualifying at CEO. Hungry Box and J-Moo qualifying at Get On My Level. Wizroad, Meds at Smash Factor 9. Mango, Amsa, and SFOP, all at Lost Tech City. IBDW, Soonsei, and Zane, all qualifying at the Big House 10. Carterin at SML 3. I think that's saving Mr. Lombardi. I think that was a smaller one, which is why there's only one stop for them. Oh god, okay. Mewtwo King and Kobo both at DreamHack Atlanta just over the weekend. Now for the panel voting though, this was quite a bit of voting from the Melee side. I'm not exactly sure what happened here. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the stops, but Axe, Eddie Mexico, Fiction, Ginger, Joshman, Leftfin, Moki Nun, Panda, Pipsqueak, S2J, and SFAT were all voted in.
That's a lot of voting.
That is quite a bit of voting. I don't know what's going on with the Melee side of the Panda Cup. I haven't, I'm gonna be right, I ain't really even been paying attention to it, but damn, that's a lot of voting, bro.
That's a lot of voting for there not to be levels of transparency in how voting is being decided and who's on the panel for these things.
Right.
I feel like if anything, you'd want to be as transparent as possible about that aspect of your selections, because this is exactly what causes issues or some negative conversation. Obviously, I don't think anyone's trying to be a hater or anything.
No, not at all.
Folks who are selected, but at the same time, if you're gonna run a professional, circuit, these kind of things are gonna be questioned. Especially when you got basically like an entire half a bracket coming in off of votes.
That's true. Now, I'm just reading here through the tweets, and I guess somebody brought up, this is one of the few times, Denny, where the anime account, Twitter people, actually make a good point. It's hard to believe, but they actually made a good point. They go on to say that, and I think this is maybe not a Panda thing, but this is like a Nintendo thing and kind of them not really respecting the online aspect of Melee. But it looks like they said, why were there so many panel vote-ins? No online qualifiers. Ultimate had 8 plus a few more one-spot tournaments. They did run the Invitational for Ultimate at PAX, which was not Melee at all. And then, of course, they had a couple more tournaments. And then I think not the voters, but the qualifier spots per tournament was based off of entrance. So they might have had more entrance, which goes back to what we talked about in the middle of the year, where Ultimate is padding tournament numbers in terms of entrance, but Melee has a better viewership.
Yeah.
And with Nintendo not liking Slippy, not being able to run things online, it makes sense as to why they were able to have this many vote-ins. Maybe at the next one, which I'm sure they'll announce at this coming up finals, there's more melee-centric events. Because I'm sorry, man, you can't have a circuit, wrap up with this many vote-ins. Like there got to be tournaments for this. Now we can chalk it to the game because it, again, the pandemic and a lot of stuff got stopped. But next year, Melee organizers, what's up, man? Talk to Denny and I. Y'all gotta get some more tournaments out there. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely room. It's kind of ironic after all the conversation we've had about the level of events going on with Smash in general, but I think especially with the idea that there might be more competition entering the arena and such, there's definitely got to be more of a balance between Ultimate and Melee moving forward. I feel like how they handle these kind of things, but it is what it is. So since they are voted, and you still get these last chance qualifier spots too, we'll have to see kind of how that plays out. But I do think that if you know you're going to be in a scenario where this many votes are happening, then there should be some kind of transparency happening as well, at least to give uh, the competitive scene an idea of how you decide on these kind of things,
Sure.
and a bit more of how you land on that kind of course of action.
That's facts. Really quick before we move on, community stops. 2 players qualify each chosen rule set, or excuse me, event chosen rule set. Community event experience. So those stops were Get on My Level, Smash Factor, DreamHack Atlanta, and then the Big House. And then the key stops were the full experience by Panda, where it wasn't like a community thing. Like they were able to get in and make the event their own. And that was CEO and Lost Tech City. 3 events qualified from there. And then the pit stops, where, excuse me, they were just tournaments that were focused on one game and not both. Were Let's Make Moves Miami from just this past October, and then Saving Mr. Lombardi, which was a melee only thing. And that had 1 qualifier. So that's why we only had Akla for
I see.
Ultimate, and then we had God, what was the gentleman's name for Melee? We had, what's his name again? Come on, slow ass computer. Oh yes, right, Coderin. So yeah, that's what we're going to expect here for December. I'll be at both. Knock on wood. I'll be at Smash World Tour. I'll be at Panda Cup back-to-back weekends. So
And put in work.
I'm I'm gonna try my best. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna see how that's all gonna unfold. It's gonna be a big piece of history that I'm sure we're definitely gonna chat about here on Shacknews. So let's see how that one goes. Now, Denny, it's time for the fun. Now, we gotta talk about sauce talk. We gotta talk about these Thanksgiving plates, Denny. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be. You know, I beyond just the plates themselves, that there were some wild Thanksgiving posts going out with people's food and such being made. But you brought some heavy hitters in here. You know, some good heavy and some bad. But we're gonna go through them. That's for
That's
sure.
right. Now, just to preface before we jump into this, I actually just finished the last of my leftovers. So, black households out there that are watching this, if you're in the general area and you got some leftovers that need 8, depending on what it is, because certain things stay good a little bit longer than others, depending on what it is, call me, call Denny too. We'll pull up. You know what I'm saying? We'll help you finish some foods off. Grandmas, you know what I'm saying? Moms of older children, your kids that moved out, they don't come back around for the leftovers. They don't spin the block. Call Denny and I. We'll come and finish that food up right for you. Don't play with us, all right?
Yeah, we'll be ready. Come through, especially if you got some baked goods around here. You know, hook us up. I'm not the banana pudding eater, but plenty of folks love it.
That's facts, yo. So, for this first plate, we got our man Jay from Whole Foods.
Oh my god,
Bio, I'm
this
just
is
gonna
Jay.
quick rundown on him. Don't know if he actually works at Whole Foods, but his bio is I'm bald with the hairline. All right, so damn. I mean, he's giving you the real right off the rip. And he said, I just warmed up some breakfast leftovers. Now, Denny, let's go ahead and break down each area of this plate here. Where should we start first? If you had to see this plate in front of you, what area are you attacking first?
Well, first off, I've seen this plate plenty over this past weekend. It's become its
Wait a
own.
minute.
It's become its own meme. All right, everyone's been reposting this plate, saying that they're warming up some food, or my auntie just set this plate down on the table. They've been trying to fool you. All right, this plate's been making the rounds for like the past 4 or 5 days. Because of course, folks are savage, but it's looking good. You know, I'm seeing some, there's some turkey meat in that in them greens. Probably a little turkey neck in there. The sweet potatoes look very, the yams. Like your boy Masego been singing about, look pretty good.
Yeah, I
Gravy, rice looks well seasoned. We got a little parsley in there. Someone clearly they cared about this plate. All right, there's a level of detail here that you could probably render. Right now, this plate looks better than Pokemon Violet, in my opinion. Just it's looking better
Now wait a
than
minute, Mr.
than
Von
the
Doom.
Scarlet and Violet right now.
Oh, no, you did not. No, you did not just come for Pokemon Violet like this.
Hey, look, I'm just saying. I feel like graphically, this plate spent more time in the oven than that game. So
I've never seen
it
that.
is.
I've
It
never
is what it
actually met
is.
the villain. I've never actually met the villain. He's here. He is present.
I don't play
ladies
when
and
it comes to the
gentlemen.
food. All right, you gotta make things happen sometimes.
That's facts, yo. Now, I'm actually glad you brought up the fact that this picture has been sent around on the internet a couple times because this Thanksgiving food is timeless, okay? Like, it's so good that restaurants, like, of all the different types of styles of foods out there, this genre of food is only done once a year. Like, people don't even try to recreate the greatness that is Thanksgiving unless it's Thanksgiving time, all right?
Yeah,
This right here, this don't look like leftovers. This looks like in the moment, you just scooped it on, you know what I'm saying? That favorite aunt of yours, like, let me go ahead and get you a plate, sugar, and she did this. Somebody over the age of 40 did this plate. This ain't no 30-year-old. This ain't your boyfriend or girlfriend who made this plate. Somebody's auntie, uncle, grandma made this. Now, I'm looking at first thing that catches my eye is the greens, Denny. I'm glad you brought those up.
yeah.
Those greens, those are some real greens, okay? Those are seasoned up, doctored up in a way. There's some meat in there. They ain't too runny either. I don't see greens juice in the mac and cheese. I don't see it in the stuffing or nothing. Like, that's just boom, greens.
Yeah, everything it's looking right.
And then the mac and cheese is looking perfectly charred, okay? Like, it ain't looking too runny, but it also ain't looking too, thick. It got, that little bit of like burntness on the top. Got
There's
some, what
levels
is,
of cheese there. And clearly, it was like there's four cheeses in
yeah.
that mac and cheese. It's not just one. It's not just a bunch of noodles dried in the inside. Clearly, they scooped it up and it came out the way you want it to. It looks good. It's not some macaroni cake.
Yeah. Now, and you can tell too that this was handled differently than the other dishes because when I look at the corner of this plate here, I'm looking at some cheese residue. So whoever threw this on the plate, all the other sides got just put on real nicely. But whoever this plate belonged to originally was like, I got this one, and literally just scooped it and just fucking threw it on the plate. He was like, yo, I got this one. I don't need no help with the other ones. This one is the one I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
This one is some serious business. Them yams, these yams looking pretty goddamn candy. They look good, Denny.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the level of the thing about good, soul food and you can say the Thanksgiving plates as well is that when you see the love on the plate, you know that someone made it with love and care, and it wasn't just something that was put together haphazardly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this plate is. That's why it's been memed um, strongly over the past couple of days, with everyone saying everything between. I saw somebody say that, hey, I tipped my barber, so he dropped his plate on me. I've seen some of everything with this plate over the past couple of days. It's been
Damn.
happening.
I don't know who the originator of this plate is, but whoever you are or individuals, I'd imagine this was a family effort. You put your foot in this one, okay? And if you guys ever make another round for next year, call Denny and I. We'll pull up on y'all, especially for a plate that looks like this.
Yes, please. If you got that kind of cooking going down, especially since it looked like they had the extended plate too to fit all that on it. So I'm like, it's rare you get that amount of food on the plate
Mhm.
without none of that really touching and intertwining in that way.
Man,
But
come
they
on,
made it
bro.
happen, and,
Come
and
on, bro.
clearly there's some catering plates happening there or
Man,
something.
man, that's how I want my plate sectioned up. All right. I'm sending this picture to my family in our group chat. Yo, next year you get me a plate. You say, yo, don't worry, Uncle Rod. You can stay on piano duty. I'll get you your plate. That's what I want it to look like right there. Now, this next plate, though, Denny, this next place comes in from G Benny Lola at G Benny Lola on Twitter. And the caption is eating good. Now, I'm sure you've had a chance to see this. A lot of black Twitter pops up on our TLs because we happen to be two black individuals on Elon Musk's unfortunate version of Twitter. And this plate ain't really plating for me, Denny. What do you think of this here? What are your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts are that if that's turkey, it's dry as hell. I'm assuming that's what it is, but also there's multiple types of rice we got going on here. You know, I don't like bananas, but I can fuck with plantains, and
Facts.
I'm very confused about how we got whatever's on this plate here happening at the same time. It's a mixture of dryness and also textures that I feel like would not go very well eating together uh, at all. Plus, there's just a level of like yellowness happening here that makes me very scared to eat any of it.
I'm questioning the mindset, the person's mental stability that put this plate together. Now, I don't want to accuse this person again. Who is this again? This is G Benny Low. I don't want to accuse him of putting this plate together. But there's a lot of rice, like you said, and there's three different versions of rice. I'm seeing yellow rice, I'm seeing wild, this orange rice, and I'm seeing like almost like a rice paste here. I think that's maybe more rice. This could also be sweet potatoes. But the fact
Uh,
remains the same. If I asked you to put me together a plate, now maybe these people are from another country, so like these are different types of
I
dishes.
mean, it's looking kind of like it might have been somewhat Caribbean because maybe that's like some pounded yam or something on the side. I know that like uh, some of my Nigerian friends they get big on the jollof rice and such, but they don't like that. Like the plantains don't look like that either in most cases. Yeah, I feel like that just the dryness of the chicken slash turkey or whatever this uh, is a bit scary. I
I've
feel
never
like
seen
I might
plantains like this either.
no. I think that's it's like somehow a mixture of like dry, like it was boiled or something, but also cut weirdly as well. Um, yeah, no, none of that's gonna work for me.
No, I'm trying to. So when I first seen this, I couldn't tell if this was like a real post or if this was supposed to be like a joke post, right? But this plate looks just carefully curated enough to where this looks like, oh, we might actually eat this. Now I see that dry turkey right on top there. Then I see some sort of other meat kind of off to the side. This other meat looks like it was done differently, like maybe it's some sort of ham or something. And then the plantain though. Now I'm not a connoisseur of plantain like you, Denny. I share a disdain, generalized hate for bananas. I think bananas are too aggressive in foods. It's like got the other fruits in the chokehold taste wise, like Melvin and Jody from Baby Boy. Like it's just let up,
Well,
right?
I'm glad you could
Plantains,
join me in the banana hate.
yeah, I'm just not here for it. And then I like my fruits to have juice in them too. I don't like the texture. It's just, but plantains I became a little bit more fond of. I went to Puerto Rico and DR. They do
Hmm.
some great things with plantain, obviously. And like you said, this could be a Caribbean thing, but these plantains ain't plantaining for me. These look a little underloved. I don't know if this was made with love, Denny.
Yeah, I'm not getting no love from this plate right now. I'm getting more of abandonment right now. This is looking more like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet right now. It's looking more like that energy as far as the level of graphic fidelity. Plate looking kind of ugly, but hey, if they enjoyed it, more power to them. But we don't do dry turkey around here.
No, don't bring no dry turkey to my grandma's house. All right, now if you want to leave, what I'm saying, alive, don't bring that dry ass shit over here.
Yeah,
Now,
it's not allowed.
no, it's not. Now, this next plate might be allowed in certain households of people without melanin in the skin. This next one comes from our good friend, and he's not really our good friend. We don't know him, but his name is @SilkyUpdates. And the caption is, drop y'all Thanksgiving plates, talk nice to me. Now, I'm looking at this plate here. He must have been hungry when he put this together because he took a bite of the biscuit, then put it down and was like, oh, wait, I got to take a quick photo of this. So he's filling this plate. Now, we got turkey. It looks pretty dry. We got sliced carrots. I like a good steamed carrot. I like carrots. I'm not a lima bean fan, though. So we got lima beans off to the side here with some sort of mixture of collard green and cauliflower and broccoli. We got some sort of paste, some sort of gravy sauce. There's just, Denny, what do you think, bro?
Oh, you lost me when you got the macaroni shells. It looks like the cheese was never fully mixed in, and you just tossed some store bought breadcrumbs on top of it. It's not looking good.
No.
Also, this plate as a whole looking very dry. If I saw this, if I sat down and someone handed me this, and I'd be upset. There'd be some levels here. I'm like, it's giving Old Country Buffet. I think that level.
Wait a minute, bro. Wait.
It's giving that vibe here. There might be. I can't tell if that's cheese or eggs on the potatoes or what's going on there. But there's definitely never gonna be some lima beans on my plate, a Thanksgiving plate, where there's perfectly good things like green beans that exist or some greens.
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen. And that biscuit looks drier than Popeyes, so there's no.
Yeah. Come on, bro.
There's no level of that happening. But I know this guy was definitely trolling.
Yeah, this has to be a troll because this plate looks like, this looks like something straight out of Bridgerton or something from the 1500s. It's like some Thomas Jefferson. They're playing Fur Elise in the background while we eat this.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like to enjoy some of my dry turkey? I have brought the finest of lima beans as well. Please partake in my biscuit and bring plenty of water. It's like, no, I think I'm good, sir.
I say, sir. Absolutely. The finest order of your lima beans off to the side and some of those thinly sliced carrots, if you will. That's right. Do not skimp on the carrots. Wow.
Yeah, this is the best you can get from some freezer vegetables and a box of macaroni shells and probably one of those rotisserie chickens from Walmart or something.
Yeah, no, this ain't gonna work for me. And then the fact, in your caption, when you have to put "talk nice to me," now motherfuckers ain't gonna talk nice to you. You know people will come in here and roast this plate up. Because then he went on to respond to his thread. Don't comment on my food. Drop your shit. Like, nah, man, we still focused on this plate from 1872. All right, this is some George Washington finest food here. Like this is some.
You gotta definitely make sure that your plate is on point before you go for the plate thread, because it's a good way to get lit up on your day off. All right.
You ain't lying about that. Now maybe this next plate might do a little something for us here. This next plate comes through from Mally the Dawn.
If by doing something you mean like give me a stomach ache, then sure. It's doing a lot of that. I'm scared. I do recognize the rolls. I will say that the rolls that were chosen here are actually pretty tasty. These are the yeast rolls that you can get from the frozen section. They're actually pretty soft once you get them in there in the oven. Everything else surrounding this though
Yeah.
is we might have to nominate this for best gore on the Shacknews Awards this year because this is brutal.
No.
Um,
No. Oh, bro.
Violent, those the violence here. This is borderline like a bad barbecue plate.
Yeah.
Um,
This the plate your side girl gets you. You know, like when you just make a quick stop by, you know what I'm saying? Your grandma's like, hey, whatever happened to that one boy, you know, that you used to talk to? And then I pull up, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm just saying hi real quick. Don't even get to know me. You know what I'm saying? Boom. This the plate she makes you. She just kind of she threw like some sloppy Joe here. This is some hamburger helper. I'm just gonna call it out. All right, I'm holding these people accountable. This is hamburger fucking helper here. And you know what? I don't actually mind these things all touching. You know, hamburger helper and mac and cheese, they can get along. Okay,
well,
those two nations can get
hold on. Okay, first off, how are you seeing hamburger helper here when there's clearly beans involved, which means that we got baked beans combined with some easy mac that's overcooked, as you can see here by the mushiness of those noodles. And then somehow the plate still has some kind of mushed yams on it with what looks like marshmallow. So
oh,
we got some yam paste with marshmallows
not yam paste. Hold on, bro. Hold
mixed
on,
in with the sweet ass
hold on,
baked
bro.
beans full of ground beef and some dry ass turkey with no skin on it.
Not the yam paste, Denny. I'm bro. That is
Look at
70.
those yams. Like there's nothing. Do you see a single portion of that yam over there that's not mush? I feel like we got some yam yogurt over here with marshmallows on top that they mixed in, tossed on top of some turkey, and somehow that's touched it with some baked beans.
And
So
what, what
someone took the time to cook some ground beef, mix it in with the baked beans, no onions and peppers and none of that shit. And then they tossed some easy back in the pot, but they had time to like somehow make yams with a marshmallow topping, and it's still made on the plate together. This is some form of sorcery. I'm a little bit confused. I need to might get the feds involved with this one. I feel like
what is this meat here? This is some sort of I can't tell. This is turkey. This looks like some damn squirrel tender. This could be I don't know what this is. Like it looked like it was some sort of critter before it was on this plate. What is this?
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna have to assume that it's turkey. You know, it's clearly the darker side of the meat end, but I whatever was attempted there was definitely not achieved
No.
um, on that end. But it's also like we got some form of turkey, chicken, whatever next to the baked bean concoction that, and then it's just the roughness of the plate itself. All right, like somebody was going ham was just flopping it on the plate. Somehow the mac and cheese got mixed in. It looked like on purpose. Like this is some savage eating here.
Yeah.
I would call the feds. So let me just get the come knock on the door real quick and arrest the people making this plate,
Yeah,
please.
this looks like your aunties was fighting. It's like, well, maybe he needs more beans. Well, maybe he's had enough beans,
I
Cheryl.
don't think there was
Maybe.
any aunties involved in this plate. I think this was definitely some self doing here. There was. I don't think that there was any aunties in the room when this was made. Okay,
He
that
said,
was
he said, this is some unchecked human behavior. This
the
is
reason
why.
why I say that. Because do you see any vegetables involved here? No. All right. And usually
It's
when
true.
people put together a plate like this, because one thing you can say is that when an auntie or somebody gets involved, you're gonna have some kind of green on the plate, or at least something in that range will be made. Whether
That's
it's
true.
green beans, collard greens, something like that's going to be an option for you to pull on the plate. When your homeboy is making that himself, the vegetables are always left out, like
That's true.
every single time. And that's what this is. It looks like something that one of my old roommates would have made.
You ain't lying about that. Yeah, that plate gets a no. I feel like there was an attempt. at a good Thanksgiving, then somewhere along the course of it, they were like, you know what? We're just going to get through this as quickly as possible. So that one's cooked. Now, this next one here, this one has to be a meme. Now, what's fucking me up about this next plate here coming from Mevy Bear, Mevvybear. What's fucking me up about this plate is that it's almost a regular Thanksgiving plate. And then there's this Pepto Bismol. Like, what on earth is going on here?
Yeah, see, I mean, I've seen this plate passed around, but there's this thing that like I found out actually is a thing, where like people would make this thing they call it fluff, where it's like some weird fruit-like mixture.
Like,
I went to one holiday event with some family that I'm not usually around, and they had a big bowl of this stuff.
like that ambrosia stuff, right?
Yeah, whatever they want to call it, but it's not for me. Like, but this plate in general was not for me. I mean, obviously, the thing that gets me is that like a lot of these situations, there's always like a level of like dryness that I just don't like. Like everything's just been sitting out too long.
Mm.
But then like whenever I see macaroni looking like Easy Mac that was used in an incorrect manner, it gets scarier. You know. I mean, I did scroll down in this thread, and I did see that there were other plates involved, but like, I I don't know. I don't know if there's any salvaging. I just want to bring up like this one from Con Measy on the same thread because he's got these eggs and such. But a personal pet peeve of mine is when I'm looking at like turkey and such. Oh, and you have to slather on like I have a cup of gravy to make your turkey not dry, and then if it looks like there's no level of marinating or seasoning at all, it scares me every time I see a plate like that where I'm like, this is you're probably choking trying to get this down. I mean, you're probably choking in real time trying to get down that turkey, despite slathering it in gravy.
That's
Yeah,
fact.
you got some dry dressings in the background too. So like everything on the plate you gonna choke on. The croissants. It's rough out here. Look,
I can't do this either. Like this plate here from Comnesia is taking me on a roller coaster because look. I wasn't always a deviled eggs guy, and then they got me, bro. Like I went to a work party, I went to a work function once, and I had them right, and I was like, damn it, I think I'm a goddamn deviled eggs dude. But the fact that he got away with taking more than two is insanity right there. That's a different conversation. But then like I
living
will agree,
dangerously. Yeah,
he has all this shit on the turkey when we could have just made the turkey better. Like I don't turkey
there's
doesn't
so
have
much gravy that it's literally pouring off of the plate. You can see it
he
on
has
the
a
napkin.
yeah, he has a napkin because he's like, God damn, I put too much damn gravy on this, which lets me know that he has a long-standing history with this turkey. Him and his turkey have crossed paths, and he knows I gotta put some damn gravy on this.
Yeah, he thought about making it out alive after trying to swallow that down, and this is where we landed ourselves. Down
Yeah,
bad.
this one ain't going. It's almost edible. There are things on this in separate that I could eat, but I don't know if I can accept a plate that looks like this. Uh-uh.
Yeah,
Now,
it's rough.
yeah. Now this next one here, I know that this one isn't real, but I just wanted to share it anyway. This one here comes from my buddy Arbiter. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. What do you think of my plate? This man's plate is some damn Jenny Craig bag of Walmart lettuce, two slices of cheese, two Oreos, and some sort of either fish stick or chicken strip out of the damn oven. Now, dang, what's what's your thoughts on this one, bro?
I I I'm one of those people that like I absolutely hate when like people slather salad in dressing to the point of which it's like, are you even eating the salad anymore? You pour like half a gallon into this mug, but then it's like I guess we're going for some kind of like chicken Caesar salad action. You can just rip up the cheese yourself. Maybe have a nice Oreo for dessert. Uh, yeah, this is probably one of the widest plates we've gotten on the show. As wide as that cheese.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, you know what this plate needs? We just need 3 slices of cheese because what the hell? I just, you know what? There are people out here who probably ain't ate food in days, and I still wouldn't give them this plate. I wouldn't do a homeless person like this. I would take them somewhere nice and get them something better than this. 2 damn Oreos and a salad.
I
Now
just
my
imagine
first
that
thought,
those things are cold as hell too. Like the chicken strips or whatever that's supposed to be is probably. I'm sure it's not. It's not hot.
I tell you what, it's probably even worse than that. It's like, oh, we can do the microwave instructions or we can do
Oh
the oven
god.
instructions, which are going to cook it better. They did microwave instead. It's probably what's going on here. So they all soggy and shit.
Yeah,
Now,
that looks abhorrent.
yeah, this is not going to work. And what's crazy about this too is that at first glance, I'm like, oh, they're just vegan. Oreos are vegan. You know what I'm saying? Boom, salad, some cheese. But then these damn meat strips. And then to top it all off, these people are smashers. They got Super Smash Brothers Ultimate playing in the background. So whoever this is, this culprit walks among us. Hell is full. The devil, the damn demons are up here with us, Denny, perpetrating and eating food that looks like this. Get John
Well,
Constantine on the phone. They're going back.
you gotta call somebody for this one. I mean, man,
Yeah.
Smash community continue to scare me a little bit here. Like
Boy, if you don't.
get out of here with this one, please. All right, we're done.
Oh my God. Wow. And friends, that is going to conclude our dinner plate wrap up here at Shacknews. But before we get up out of here, we got to talk about the game that we do here. Now, we have gamified Shacknews over the course of so many years, and we have dedicated players who interact with our articles, Shack Pets, everything that we do here, this wonderful company. And y'all got to check this out. Now, let me go ahead and actually grab this here really quick here because I'm actually curious. Now, last week, did we have a new winner? Or not last week, the week before last, rather, excuse me.
Yeah, Ain't Mikey, is still on a tear. There were some change ups for the day to day, but he pretty much he was still solidifying things for a minute there. Mamu 123 was pulled out for a couple days, which he has been making some moves too. But when it came into the week to week, your boy Ain't Mikey will still come out on top. It seems to be continuing that trend now as we move into the past week.
Okay, so I have it linked from the day. So, and then I think we need the week one as well. Okay,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Okay, so, whoa. Okay, so Greg Burke actually won Shacknews for the week of November 21st. Whoa. Oh no, that's last year. I'm sorry. Oops. Dude, I was about to call Greg right now and be like, boy, what the hell? What are you smoking? Whooping everybody's ass like this for the week. But no, that's a link from last week. My apologies, y'all. I got y'all excited for no reason. Okay. All right. Well, yes. And then Carnage for the day, I got it linked here. So for November 27th, which was yesterday, 8 Mikey won. In addition, Mad Dog Delphi 97 won Chatty with a total of 2,173 points. In addition to that, 8 Mikey won Shaq Pence with a total of 52,640 points. Now, coming up in second place behind 8 Mikey is our wonderful co-host and writer, or I guess not co-host anymore, but used to co-host and steer this ship, Blake Morse, my co-host and my ace boon coon, my right-hand man on retail therapy, came through and got second place, which is pretty big given, like, he's been super worked, you know what I'm saying, been traveling, been moving, all that stuff, and he still had time to settle in and get second place. Johnny Chugs came in at third place. Surfer Boy Sam, my boy from across the ocean, as far across the ocean as you can get from the United States, came through, got fourth place. Bill Lavoie in fifth. Denny in seventh place. Denny, you had some time, huh?
Yeah, it's gonna do some Shack Pets this weekend. I mean, got the brand new update, adding a couple new features. Some sticker packs, challenges, and such. Definitely a good time to get into the game. I'll drop the
Yes,
link in
sir.
chat.
We turned it up. Y'all better download Shack Pets. Don't play with us, man. And then, of course, we had Morgan Shaver coming through at 9th. And then in 10th place, we had Biosector in 10th. So, honestly, it looks like the Shacknews team is starting to become a little bit more powerful when it comes to these Cortex rankings. Friends, y'all better tap in, all right, because there's no days off here. All right, we know how to win.
Yeah, for sure. Still consistency as well as it goes for past week leadings as well. Ain't Mikey, still putting in the work, but Mama 123 definitely racked up on the Shack Pets end as well. You only hit about half the total of 8 Mikey's dominant score for the week. I'd say still pretty impressive. Over 125,000 points for the overall week. And, TJ Johnny Chugs pulling up again in third place. I've been seeing a lot of his pupper Silo on the mix with some of those new sticker packs in use as well, and some cool stuff. Sam, also has some pretty solid picks on Shack Pets as well recently. So good stuff there on that end. Overall, a pretty solid week. I'm sure once we head into the break, people have more opportunity to get in on some of that Shack Pets out action, but also some of the Cortex. I got a couple Cortex posts I'm planning on working through. Some might even be esports related.
Oh,
So
shit.
take a look, keep an eye out for it. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future of Cortex, man. Gamifying Shacknews here. That's right, friends. We don't only just cover the games, we also create the games as well with Cortex and, of course, with Shack Pets. Please download that, okay? Free on your app store. If you have a smartphone, if you have a phone that is more intelligent than you, head on over to his game store, app store, whatever it's called, the store, and download Shack Pets. It's free to the public. Also, while we're here, be sure to check out our 2 YouTube channels, of course, Shacknews Games, Gamer Hub videos, put together and curated by our very own Greg Burkleton Burke, who gets right to work when those videos need dumped. So big shout out to him. Of course, our social medias are popping as well at Shacknews on Twitter, and of course at Shacknews Games on Instagram. We're our social media. We're just social media monsters. We're on Twitter. We're on the internet. Come talk to us. We talk back, and that's all put together and made beautiful by our wonderful Denny Von Doom here, man. So big shout out to him. Show him some love at Denny Von Doom on Twitter. It's spelled how it sounds, and if you can't sound it out, you'll find him. I promise you. And yeah, of course, follow me as well too at Rodney Conyers Jr. I'm on Twitter. Like to talk about types of cool shit,
Yeah, Rod's got plenty of things going down, and of course, like he mentioned before, he'll be hanging out for those Smash events. You can look forward to. So if you want some eyes on the scene at the events, make sure you hit him with a follow.
Yes, sir. Hit me up, man. Talk to me. I talk back. And then, of course, as always, keep supporting Shacknews, www.shacknews.com. That is our one-stop shop, centralized hub. That is our target right there, man. We have everything that you need and then some right here. So pull up on Shacknews. Come get yourself a gold plate of wonderful nerd and gaming action and news. With that in mind, friends, we're going to call it right there. That's going to conclude episode 158 here, the wide world of electronic sports. Thank y'all for tuning in. Hit that follow button. Stay locked in with us for next time. Until then, we will see y'all.
We out. Hey. Huh.
Shack Pet's latest update adds 2 new gameplay mechanics to the vote and battle screens. With Cuteness Overload, players who are struggling to vote for the cuter pet picture can now abstain from making a decision. Super Swipes will allow power users to challenge 10 pet pictures with 1 swipe on the new battle screen. This is for players confident that their pet picture is cuter than any comers. Players can gain Cuteness Overloads and Super Swipes by completing challenges. The Shack Pets 1.0.7 update is out now on Google Play and the iOS App Store. So jump into the ultimate battle for cuteness today.